I think it's fair to say that quickscoping is one of the most deeply ingrained aspects, playstyles, techniques, whatever you want to call it, in Call of Duty. It's in every Call of Duty game, one way or another. In some games it's incredibly viable and even an easy method of playing, in others it's more challenging and rewarding, but either way the core concept of quickscoping exists across the full series. However, what we're going to discuss today is the time when the COD developers, specifically Treyarch, declared all-out war on the quickscopers and the art of quickscoping, so much so that it nearly led to the death of quickscoping as we know it. But before we get into that, we need a brief recap of what quickscoping is in the first place. Basically, it's using a sniper in the total opposite way that it's meant to be used. Instead of patiently waiting and hiding to pick your shot on an unsuspecting enemy from afar, it's actually picking up your sniper and running around more so than a bloody SMG player and getting in closer range than them to the enemy too, getting right in their faces and pulling the trigger as soon as the scope touches your eye socket, taking out multiple enemies at once in an incredibly aggressive manner. Most of the time using bolt action snipers, funnily enough. You'd think the semi-autos would be more logical, but nah, the honourable quickscopers have always stuck by the bolt action, such as the M40A3 from COD 4. Now, the aim down sights time, which is probably the most crucial decider in whether a COD game has good potential for quickscoping or not, was relatively slow in COD 4. It didn't take an age, but it certainly was slow enough to make quickscoping quite a challenge to do, you know, timing shots and what have you, but it was certainly doable, and do it players did. That was tougher to say than you'd think, but there was all sorts of quickscoping montages coming out on YouTube. There was even quickscoping game battles ladders. The playstyle was definitely picking up some traction. Not much changed in World at War apart from the actual snipers, of course. In fact, you could even quickscope without a scope, if that makes sense, I guess. Quick sniping. Anyway, the point is that it was still relatively difficult, but a viable tactic. Then came around Modern Warfare 2. Oh dear lord. Sleight of Hand Pro, with its quicker aim down sights time, is like a quickscoper's wet dream. Much like everything in Modern Warfare 2, quickscoping became quite overpowered because suddenly any competent sniper in previous CODs was now a god, one-shotting people from point blank range, wiping out full teams with 6 shots. It's crazy how much damage even just an average quickscoper could do. I mean, don't get me wrong, it obviously still required skill, but it's like the entry skill level for this tactic was lowered and the skillful quickscopers were just on a whole other level altogether. Whilst all this craziness is going on though, Black Ops was in development and the developers Treyarch, or well, certain members of the development team, were not fans of this quickscoping phenomenon. In fact, they detested it. They thought it was far too overpowered and that it had to be eradicated. This is when we meet Josh Olin, aka JD2020, Treyarch's community manager at the time, who had a bit of a habit for trying to extinguish fires by pouring petrol on them. If the title of community manager meant managing the community into a state of fucking frenzy, then he'd be employee of the month every month. Actually, that would make him employee of the year. Anyway, the fact is, JD didn't exactly help himself, as we'll soon see. And JD, if you do see this video, no hard feelings mate, it's all just for a bit of a laugh, okay? In the lead up to Black Ops release, JD and Treyarch would do Q&As, as they do, to gradually release more info about the game, and it became apparent that Treyarch were going to do something about this whole quickscoping thing, so people started to ask the question, will I be able to quickscope in Black Ops? And JD replied, no. Quickscoping is a cheap way to play. We are specifically going to gimp quickscoping, sorry, play straight up. Yeah, as you can imagine, the forever understanding and mature COD community responded in a calm, reserved manner. He was basically public enemy number 1 from that point on. He had just shat all over a huge chunk of the COD player base with that. Their decision to nerf quickscoping was never going to go down well, but there's better ways to communicate it, come on. Like maybe a forum post. Oh, he actually did that. Let's see what he had to say there. All quickscoping kills are cheap. You're firing your bullet, getting your one-shot kill while the screen is still black from pulling up your sights. You're leveraging aim assist and the fact that the bullet will travel perfectly straight upon sighting in with a sniper rifle to get a laser-accurate one-shot kill. It's an exploit. Oh dear, well, at least it can't get worse. It requires timing, that's for sure, but it does not require aim. When considering the impact aim assist and taping crosshairs on a TV monitor have on quickscoping, basically at this point he's saying all quickscopers are virgins with crosshairs taped on the screen and are abusing game mechanics, more or less. Now, whether you agree or disagree with JD's opinion on quickscoping, in fact I bet a lot of you agreed then and agree now that quickscoping is overpowered in COD. The way him and Treyarch went about change was quite poor indeed. It's like if they were discussing the health system for Black Ops 4 and said, well, every player who thinks it's a bad idea to have a manual healing system is quite clearly shite at the game and should wind their fucking neck in. Now, that would be out of order, wouldn't it? Anyways, on day 1 of Black Ops, Treyarch made their dream a reality and released a patch which pretty much ended quickscoping as we knew it. What they did was make it so that you had to be proper scoped in for about a second before your shot would be accurate, as in shooting as soon as the scope touches your face would no longer shoot the bullet centre screen, it would fly off randomly as if you were hip firing the sniper, and also when you scope in, your crosshairs won't be centred anyway. Yeah, as you can imagine, this throws a huge spanner in the works for thousands of quickscopers that play COD. They couldn't do what they enjoyed doing in the game anymore, so some of them went back to Modern Warfare 2, and the rest, I guess, just kept on hounding JD and Treyarch on Twitter, demanding that they change their position on this. At the time though, Optic Predator did find a slight workaround by using the variable scope when quickscoping. That made the randomness of the shots a little less random, but still, quickscoping was for a while pretty rare, which is weird because you always seem to run into one quickscoper in every COD match you play. Quickscoping was dying, but not dead, and people were even posting up clips on YouTube of them quickscoping JD 2020, teabagging him in game. Can you imagine having that big a target on your head? The guy gets home from a long day at work being humiliated on Twitter to being humiliated while trying to chill out on his own game. That's rough. Finally though, a month and a bit into Black Ops life, Treyarch budged ever so slightly on their stance on quickscoping and brought out a patch which made quickscoping possible again. It wasn't anything like Modern Warfare 2 of course, and I'd say it was still more difficult than COD 4, but at least it was possible again. YouTube was then flooded with quickscoping is back videos, and that part of the COD community rejoiced. Everything and everyone began to heal from this ordeal. Of course, in Modern Warfare 3, Infinity Ward didn't give a fuck about quickscoping, it was still very much prominent in that game, and actually around Modern Warfare 3's release, JD 2020 stepped down as Treyarch's community manager. Maybe he had a glimpse into what Infinity Ward had in store, I don't know, but nevertheless, Black Ops 2's quickscoping was actually rather satisfying too, so there you are, how quickscoping and Call of Duty nearly died. Please do leave a like on it if you enjoyed the video, and let me know if you remember this turbulent time in the community. Also, I just want to make another shout out to the charity football match that me and other Scottish YouTubers are playing in exactly a week from now. You can get your tickets from the link in the description, and the ticket proceeds are all going to the Scottish Association for Mental Health, so it's a great cause and I hope to see a few of you there. Have a nice day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.